Hello, this is Sandy. Welcome to my tutorial for my little 4x4 mini nostalgia pet stocking stuffer album that I designed for Country Craft Creations and Authentique. Now this is not a mini album that you would give to your pet in their stocking, but in the stocking of someone else who owns a pet, or you can make one for yourself. This is a real quick and easy little album to put together, and I'm going to go over the supplies that you will need, and then later in just the next clip I will share the papers that I used. So you are going to need a package of the large basic gray magnets, and all of these you can order from countrycraftcreations.com. You will want Nouveau Crystal Glaze. This is clear, and the clear Wink of Stella if you want to add that to your flowers and some of your elements. You'll also might want to get some ink for inking your papers. I'm using the Prima Color Philosophy Sepia ink, and I'm also using some natural button twine from my own stash, burlap flowers, red flowers, and all of these are from my stash. Now as far as paper, you're going to want to get from Country Craft Creations, you're going to need at least 2 sheets of the artisan cardstock. I am going to be using the craft color, and you will want to get the Authentique Nostalgia paper collection. I did use the 12 by 12, and I'm going to use about 2 sheets each of the animal prints. I pulled out the other prints that I still had left in case I wanted to use them, but I did end up just using the different animal prints and cut aparts that come with the collection. So let's get started. To create the album base, take your 10 1/4 inch by 12 inch piece of cardstock, put the 10 1/4 inch side at the top of your scoreboard and score at 2 1/4 inches and score at 6 1/4 inches. Then this next step is very important. Take your paper and turn it clockwise so that your 2 1/4 inch spacing is at the top of your scoreboard, and then score this 12 inch side at 3 3/4, 4 inches, 7, I'm checking my notes, 7 7/8, and 8 1/4. So this has a bigger spacing here on this side, and that is correct. It may look different or not right, but it is correct. So go ahead and then take a pen or a pencil and mark this 2 1/4 inch spacing as top on each little section. This helps to keep you from getting mixed up. To create the closure piece, cut 1 piece of cardstock to 4 inches by 8 3/4 inches. Put the 8 3/4 inch side at the top of your scoreboard and score at 1 7/8 inch, 2 inch, 5 5/8 of an inch, and 6 inch. You'll notice that the spaces are different on the left side. It's narrower on one side and a little bit wider on the other, and this is correct. Fold the score lines and burnish with your bone folder. Here I'm doing the top section where it's the 2 1/4 inch at the top, and then I'm going to do the bottom. And then go ahead and fold and score and fold and burnish the 2 lines on each side to create these little gussets. And remember, the one on the right is going to be wider than the one on the left, and that's okay. You have not made a mistake. So just make sure you burnish both of the lines on each side to create those little gussets. Now take your scissors and go ahead and cut along the fold lines just up to the fold lines that go across the 12-inch side. So I'm just cutting right along the fold lines as straight as you can. And you're going to take this little section out. Now I leave the bottom, or rather the top, attached at this time. I'm going to show you in just a minute why. So I'm just leave that hanging there, and then I'm going to cut out the other side. Okay, once you have these cut up to the fold line, fold everything up. Just leave those little strips sticking out, and then you can easily cut them away right straight across. So go ahead and do that for the top side as well. Next, take a 1/2 inch corner rounder, and I'm using the chomper, and just round the corners of the top flaps only. Open them back up, and if you see any places where you have not cut straight or you didn't cut right along the fold line, go ahead and straighten that up. I'm using my bigger scissors here to make sure that I get a good straight cut. I decided that the bottom flaps needed to be rounded too, so I'm rounding each of these also with the excuse me, 1/2 inch corner rounder. Now fold up all the flaps back up and fold up your little album to see how it all fits. And so that's the way it should look. You're going to have it wider on this side, a little bit narrower on the left side. And now we're ready to make our closure. So take the piece you've already cut and scored. I'm going to go ahead and round these corners on each end. And again, this is the 1/2 inch chomper that I'm using. You can use any 1/2 inch corner rounder, and then go ahead and fold up your score lines to create the gussets here on this closure piece. So this is how it's going to fit. So I'm going to open it back up. And it's going to be glued to the right side on the inside with both flaps, top and bottom, opened up, and then you're going to glue it down. So I'm just checking the fit right now to see how everything's going to come together. This folds up. So you see this narrow space goes into the wider one of the closure, and that's what balances it out once it's closed up. So check to make sure everything fits right and closes up good. Before you actually glue it in. Now this one little flap on the left is going to make a pocket later when we start putting pattern paper in. So this will be a pocket here. And you just want to make sure that when you glue it in that you do not go over any of your fold lines. So I'm still double checking, make sure everything lines up right. So I'm going to flatten this down so it's easier to see. You want to make sure that you're gluing from the fold line of your closure, the one to the right when it's closed down. I know I'm taking quite a bit of time, but I just want to make sure that it is going to fit correctly and close up properly. Okay, so we're ready. I'm going to add, I've decided I needed to add another fold line over here with the little pocket to straighten this up. So I scooted over just 1/8 of an inch. So I do have that in my initial scoring that I gave you at the beginning of this clip where we're assembling all this. So this closure piece is cut 4 inches by 8 3/4, and you score the 8 3/4 inch side at 2 inches, 5 5/8, and 6 7/8. So if you've done that, you have that correct. So this is something that I thought of after I was creating it, but I did add the correct score measurements on the video earlier. So turn this piece over so that you only see a score line on the right and the left. You don't want to see 2 score lines on each side, and you're going to put glue on the back side. And then turn it over and make sure the wider flap is to your right, and fit this into this section with the flaps open, the top flap open and the bottom one open, and line that up, keeping it straight along the fold line on the right side, and also keep it off the fold line of the gusset on the left. So you want to make sure you've got it on straight, the bottom and the top. Burnish that down, open it up so that you can burnish on the inside, and then make sure everything folds up. If you need to burnish your flaps, then go ahead and do that now. Now this little piece on the left on the inside, that little flap, will become a pocket. So I see that maybe it's just a little bit too wide here, so I'm just going to trim that down some. And fold that in, and that folds better. And then the outer flap. See, this is why it was important to mark your top flaps so that you can get it all straightened out once you start unfolding and moving everything around. It gets a little confusing. So this will be a pocket. So I'm going to trim just a little bit more down here at the bottom. Right there. And I'll probably repunch this corner once I've got it all lined up correct. Okay. So see, I'm pulling that bottom flap to make sure it lines up right, and that's when sometimes you may need to score some of your fold lines. So that looks good. We have the 2 wide ones, one on the left and one on the right now, and we're ready for some magnets. So we're going to do a magnet on the front closure. So you'll need a plus and a minus. These are the large basic gray magnets that you can order from countrycraftcreations.com. Peel the backing off of one magnet, attach it to the flap, leaving about 3/4 of an inch from the edge. Lay the other magnet on top, pull the backing off, close up your flap, press down so that the adhesive of the second magnet sticks to the left side, and then go ahead and cover those up with score tape to keep them in place until we add the pattern paper. So the base of our little album is made. So let's go ahead and open it back up. And you will want to put some kind of closure on your inside flaps. You could punch holes and add a little tie type closures if you wanted to, or ribbon. I'm going to use magnets. I just went ahead and used the large magnets, but you could use the smaller basic gray magnets. So here I've added my magnets and put tape on them and closed them up. So this concludes the construction of the little album for video tutorial number 1. We'll continue with video tutorial number 2 by adding the pattern paper. So check back. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.